A single tenant in a large New York City apartment building is able to stop the rehab of an entire building by refusing to leave. And New York has such strong tenant protections that there's absolutely nothing that the landlord can do. I'm Tony, and this is Real Estate Investing and Landlord News. All right, so I have an interesting article for you today, and I actually think it's a ridiculous article. And it has to do with a single tenant who is refusing to leave a building up in New York City, and it's causing all sorts of issues. They're complaining like, hey, the landlord's evil. They are building this construction site around this tenant, and there's still somebody living there. We're talking about a probably $100 million property, and you got a single tenant in there who obviously just wants a large payout and has refused previous payout offers and doesn't want to leave. Now, it's stupid. It's a stupid situation. It's created by the city of New York's evil anti-landlord laws, and I wanted to put a highlight on it because this is once again another one of those reasons why I say do not invest in New York if you're a small landlord. Okay, if you're a big landlord like these people, they know what they're doing, but hey, you could get caught up in the exact same trap if you are a small mom and pop and you own a duplex. You live in one side, the tenant lives on the other, and you want to renovate the duplex. You can't get rid of that tenant. Okay, you got the exact same problem. So let's talk about it. But before I get into the article, go ahead, hit the like, subscribe button, maybe leave a comment down below and let me know what you think. Can you believe that a single holdout tenant can stop construction in a huge renovation of hundreds of units in a building? Can you believe this nonsense? Okay, why would they put a law in place that says that almost nothing can remove the tenant unless they want to leave? What kind of idiocy is this? Okay, these laws are idiotic. That's why I say strong eviction protections. They do nothing. They don't help anybody. They don't help anybody except for this one greedy moron here. Okay, they don't help low-income tenants. They're idiotic. And this guy, meanwhile, right, they talk about what the unit is like. It's roach infested. It doesn't even have heat. Okay, give me a break. So let me get into the article. I want to go over the details of this and you can let me know what you think, okay? This article is actually coming from the New York Times, right? And it's a subscription thing, but fortunately I was able to get the article and copy it for free before it started blocking me. So the article says, he won't leave his home. The landlord is renovating around him. A longtime tenant is locked in a standoff with the owner of his Upper West Side building. And obviously, Upper West Side, Manhattan, very expensive place. So this guy will not be able to find a place, probably, rent control or whatever, that is the same price as what he was paying before. Been living in the unit for over 20 years. So let's see what the article says. Eric Abrams struggles up the stairs with his cane, one step at a time. When he reaches the 5th floor, he ducks through a plastic zipper door and hobbles down the hall to his tiny, cluttered room. There is no water in his wash basin. He had been using space heaters as the weather turned cold, but recently a new heater as ordered by a court. The noise and dust have largely abated since a partial stop work order took effect, though the roaches remain. Mr. Abrams, 64, is the last remaining holdout tenant in his single-room occupancy building in Manhattan, where he arrived 21 years ago through a city housing program. For 3 years, his most recent landlord, Closed Properties, has been trying unsuccessfully to relocate him as it overhauls the entire building. He has rejected or ignored every proposal as unsuitable, resulting in an acrimonious standoff that has left him nearly alone in a construction site. So a couple things there I want to highlight. First, he said that the city housing program put him there. This guy's like a Section 8 tenant, essentially, okay? And you know what? He's getting all of his cheap housing due to government in the first place. These people are coming in, they're doing a total rehab of the entire building, okay? They're not just putting lipstick on a pig, they're gutting the place, okay? And you can't have somebody living in the building while they gut the place. The court put a stop work order on there just to prevent him from having to live in a construction site. So rather than the courts, you would think, okay, some sort of logic would be used on this. Yes, yes, court. We are putting $20 million into the renovation of this building, and it's going to provide nice housing and bring the whole neighborhood up. Or, well, this one guy, he needs a place to stay, and he's rejected every, like if I could imagine they're offering him 50, 100 grand or some crazy amount just to get the heck out of there, and he's still saying no. Well, what do you want us to do? Okay, this guy, if he's not using logic, he's not using reason, if the courts are working against us in every, you can literally put people out of business. Now, I don't think these developers are going to go out of business. I don't. Okay, these are big time developers. They've probably dealt with similar situations to this in the past. This is what they do. But the reason I bring this story up, like I said before, small mom and pops, they own one property. They might even live in the property with their tenants, and they're going to run into the exact same problem. Because when they write these laws, they don't say, well, these eviction protections, they only exist for the billionaires. No, they say they exist for everyone, everywhere. You're renting a spare bedroom in your house, and the tenant in that room has the exact same eviction protections. So, just face the facts. They hate landlords. They hate people who want to run their business. It's not worth it to be a small landlord. Maybe you'll get lucky. Maybe, and that's what I say to the people. They're like, oh, I've been doing this for years. And it's like, you got lucky, okay? You got lucky. You had some good tenants. Nothing wrong with that. I'm saying if you want to get started, there are better places to get started than New York, okay? This is the worst situation I've seen, said Robin Logidis, Mr. Abrams' lawyer, and I've been doing this for a long time. These kind of stalemates can happen in New York, where developers seek to raise or renovate buildings collide with obstinate tenants. There is no obligation for the tenant to move, said Andrew Scherer, who is a professor at New York Law School and the author of Residential Landlord-Tenant Law in New York. The tenant holds a lot of the cards. There are solutions that could work, but it is a matter of voluntarily agreeing to those. So when somebody says that there is no obligation for the tenant to move, like the landlord can't end the lease, the landlord can't evict them, there's nothing that the landlord can do, well, then the landlord doesn't own the property, okay? The tenant owns the property at that point, okay? Or the city, but not the landlord. If the landlord just has to be a landlord, like, well, the building's losing $50 million a year and I'm bankrupt, but I can't get rid of this tenant and sell the property. The building is literally caving in on itself, but I can't tear the property down because the tenant doesn't want to leave. Like, what? Idiocy, okay? It's idiocy. And then, what we'll read about later? Man, a desperate landlord was doing all sorts of illegal stuff to motivate the tenant to leave. That's what they'll say, okay? They were doing like their own illegal eviction stuff, right? And they'll be like, why would anybody do that? Why don't they just go through the law? Then they get up to eviction court and then they hear this nonsense. Well, the tenant can't leave unless they want to. What? Yeah, you just have to continue to lose money and keep that tenant in there forever because they don't want to leave. Well, this is why, basically they create their own problems. They create their own problems, with the illegal eviction stuff. They create their own problems, where people are changing locks or cutting power or doing all sorts of stuff to motivate these people to leave because of the stupid laws they put in place in the first place. That's why, that's why those things happen. When Closed Properties bought 230 West 101st Street, aka 2651 Broadway, for a bargain basement $15.5 million in late 2021, Mr. Abrams was one of 5 single-room occupancy tenants living there. Another resident has since been relocated from the 3rd floor to the ground floor through an agreement with Closed. The 7-story, 126-room building, which includes 3 ground floor retail spaces, was being used primarily as an unauthorized hotel. The city sued the owner at the time, Hank Freed, accusing him of multiple safety violations and of illegally using several buildings he owned as short-term rentals. So what it sounds like here is it's one of those places for super low-income people, like a hotel, similar to a hotel. So I'm trying to think of what they call those places, but basically you have a single room, and you got the bed in there, the kitchenette in there, it's fully furnished, and people usually they pay like a week at a time in advance. And this is the very low bottom of the barrel income people, and this is what keeps them off the street. They got them here in Omaha, they got them in every city throughout the entire country, and nothing wrong with that. That's how this guy was staying. The city supposedly was paying to keep this guy in there, and I guess there is at least one other tenant in there according to the article, but I just can't figure out why the landlord, property owner, can't do anything to remove this person unless they choose to leave voluntarily. I just don't like it. I don't like this at all. Tell me what you think of the whole situation in the comment section down below.